All right, in this lesson I want to show you how you can create your own methods. We're working a little bit ahead of the book, but if I can give you a motivation as to how this works, I think that'll be valuable. But first, let's look at what I have here. I have a class called temp.java, and inside I've got a basic main method, which is empty right now. Now, what I want to do is I want to be able to create a GUI window without having to constantly type in again and again and again all of those statements. I'd like to just create it and be done with it. So notice I have the correct imports here in order to make this work. And then I have another class called GUI creator. This will not have a main method. And the reason why it doesn't is because this isn't the main program that runs. The main program that runs is called temp.java. However, I'm going to create a method inside of GUI creator, and I'm going to call this method createGUI. Now, public, static are the two words that you'll need. Typically, we type void next, but we're not going to type it now. We're going to type JFrame. And the reason being is because I want this method to return the GUI. I want it to return the JFrame object that I create. So when you see the word void, that meant the method didn't return anything. It just did some actions and then stopped. This particular method is going to do some actions, but after it's done creating the GUI, it's going to return that GUI to my main program. And that's why instead of the word void, I need the word JFrame. Now comes the name of the method, so I'm going to call this createGUI. And what you need to know is that method names should always begin with lowercase letters. They do not begin with capital letters. Now, this particular method doesn't need any information, so it's going to have an empty set of parentheses. In other words, the user doesn't have to enter any value into the method in order to create the GUI. We can just do that. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start creating the GUI the way that we typically do. So, JFrame, the GUI, equals new JFrame, empty parentheses. And so what that does is that declares the GUI and instantiates the GUI object as a JFrame object. So it's created into memory. Then I'm going to say theGu.setSize. And we're going to make the default size 300 by 200. The GUI.setTitle. I'm just going to call it GUI title for now. The GUI.setDefault close operation. JFrame.exit on close. And then finally, the GUI.setVisible is true. Now I need what's called a return statement, because I need to return the GUI or the JFrame object that I just created back to my main program. So I use the keyword return, and I type in the GUI and with a semicolon. So now my method is created. This is called the implementation. When you actually write it out, that's called the implementation. Let's see if I made any mistakes or if this passes mustard. So let's compile this. It passes mustard. Okay, now let's return to temp. Now, here's the cool thing about the method I just created. It's inside GUI creator class. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say JFrame, the GUI, equals, and instead of typing new JFrame, what I'm going to do is I'm going to call the GUI creator class, and then through the dot, I'm going to call the method of that class, which is createGUI, empty parentheses, and a semicolon. And that is going to create the GUI do all of these steps in the method, and it's going to return the GUI or the JFrame object to this one right here. So this is all I need now. So project, let's see if it compiles. Passes mustard. Let's go ahead and execute. And there it is. There's my GUI window, 300 by 200. I can resize it accordingly if I wish. Okay, so now if I want to use this in the future, I'll have to make sure that this class, GUI Creator, is part of my project, or it's in the same folder as the class that contains my main method. Remember, you only get one main method in the program, so it only goes to one class. But now I don't have to type all of that stuff again and again, because I've got this really cool method called createGUI, which is part of the GUI Creator class. So in order to call this method, I have to first type the class name, GUI Creator, and then through the member access operator, which is the dot, I can access the method, createGUI. And so now we've created our first method. God bless you, wherever you are today.